Good afternoon and welcome everybody to today's 10th workshop with one of our mentors, Neil Ewington. Before I start, if everyone can just check that you are muted and your video's turned off. There will be an opportunity to engage at the end by asking any questions in the chat facility. So do have a think towards the end, and perhaps Neil will have some time to address those questions. So let's get started. Finding a job on LinkedIn, very popular subject. I'm sure you're all aware of this massive social media platform, but there are various ways you can use it to maximize and optimize your chances of finding a job. Before we do, for those that are new to this workshop, I know some of you have come along before, but for the benefit of our new mentees, just a very quick intro. I'm Dan Hawes. I set up Graduate Mentor in August 2020. Many of you are using it day by day, which is absolutely brilliant because it gives you access to so many different mentors where you can talk about CV advice, interview preparation, or brainstorming ideas. We've had lots and lots of mentees go through the program. On the flip side, I'm also the co-founder of a recruitment consultancy called GRB, which stands for Graduate Recruitment Bureau. So you might have heard of us, might have even met us at a careers fair or a freshers fair. But we are based in Brighton and we have over 75 staff and about 2,000 clients, companies like Amazon, IBM, Unilever, Ocado, but also lots of under the radar employers as well. And we've placed over 8,000 graduates into full-time graduate or executive level jobs. Right, enough about me. Let's just give you a quick flavour of where we're at with Graduate Mentor, just so you can see the type of student and graduate who've signed up to the programme. Now, it's designed to help those students and graduates that are either from diverse, disadvantaged or underrepresented groups. So we have a nice mixture of mentees on the programme. You can see a breakdown of some of the universities. Some of you may be from these universities today, and also the course breakdown as well. So a very broad range from subjects like business, engineering, but also MBA students as well, which is nice. A nice blend of students represented across the UK. So we launched in August 2020. So in just over 2 years, we've hit quite a few big milestones. We have over 2,700 students and graduates who've registered. Over 2,000 have successfully completed a mentoring session, which, by the way, is all done virtually. So it's over Zoom or Teams, not face-to-face, which means we can reach all corners of the UK. We have some wonderful mentors. I can't stress enough how brilliant these mentors are from. And, you know, they're from brilliant organizations like Facebook, Google, Coca-Cola, but, you know, lots of other organizations as well. And they've all kindly volunteered their time to jump on the platform and give you students and graduates some confidence or some advice or share some insights. So we have over 272 mentors that you can choose from. We've had 9 of these workshops. This is our 10th one. We've got lots of activity on social media, and we have some brilliant success stories of mentees who've gone through the program and found jobs, or they've become more confident in their job applications. Lots and lots of different outcomes. That's very, very satisfying to see in such a short space of time. We've also run webinars with universities who are very keen to promote the platform. And in order to keep this free for future generations, we have several official partners who would just quickly like to thank. Here they are, our gold partners, silver partners, and bronze partners. So they ensure that we cover our costs and that we can maintain and improve the platform as we go ahead. Right, so our next speaker. Neil was referred to us by one of our other mentors. And he is founder and career coach at the Early Career Academy. Some of you might have gone through their program, which was launched around the same time as Graduate Mentor. And their main purpose is to ensure young people embrace and enjoy their career adventure. So they've done this by supporting over 300 students and early career professionals through hundreds of hours of coaching, multiple worldwide events, online courses to generally help the next generation of leaders accelerate their career. So Neil could have spoken about a range of different topics, but we decided to go with LinkedIn because it is very popular. There's a lot of myths around it, and it can be very overwhelming if you're new to the platform. So today, Neil will demonstrate step by step how to optimize your LinkedIn profile. Number one, really important. Find recruiters, really, really important. Apply for jobs, and then get your career started in the right direction. LinkedIn can make this possible, and hopefully Neil will give you a steer and help you to start as soon as possible. Neil, I'm going to hand over to you, and if you'd like to share your slides, you're more than welcome to.
Yes, thank you very, very much, and thank you for having me. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope it's not too echoey. I'm in a closed office room here today. So yeah, thank you for the introduction. So I'll share my screen now. We've only got a couple of slides to go through, and the rest of what I'm going to do is practical advice. So we're going to go on to LinkedIn. I'm going to show you what a profile looks like. I'm actually going to take you through the journey of a recruiter from a business perspective so that you can get an idea of, well, how do I need to position myself on LinkedIn so that I so that I can be, the most easily found by recruiters internally and agency recruiters as well. And how can I make sure that when they do find my profile, I'm easy to contact, but I'm also the kind of person that they do want to contact. So we'll go through a few of those things. I'll just share my screen now. And I'll do a brief introduction, although I don't think I really need to after that fantastic one from Dan. So Early Career Academy, was born out of necessity more than anything else. I'll give you a good example as to why I thought young professionals needed more support. And I think that's because there just wasn't as many, there was loads and loads of executive career coaches out there in the world. A good example would be I rang up to get my business insurance for the ECA. And I said that I'm doing a coaching business, and they said an executive coaching business. I said, no, I'm going to be focusing on students. And they said, well, that's not on the drop down list. So that's an example of just how few people are actually focused on supporting graduates and young students through their careers. And I'm sure you found similar sort of challenges with the internal careers teams and things like that at your universities. So there's only one slide on this. The rest is all going to be practical. So I run the ECA, the Early Career Academy, and I also work for a business called Fraser Dove International. Could everyone just mute themselves as well? I can hear a bit of background noise. So I also work for FDI, Fraser Dove International, and that business focuses on executives. ECA focuses on grads and students, where we support pharmaceutical businesses around the world, people like Pfizer, people like Lonza, to find executives across a multitude of different areas in their businesses. So that's the end of the boring stuff, me introducing myself. So we're going to get onto some practical stuff right now. So we will have some time for questions at the end. But first and foremost, you need to think of your LinkedIn profile essentially as your shop window. Okay, it's a digital shop window for your career, for your for any sort of career aspirations that you have. People will most likely be on LinkedIn. So I'm going to go through from top to bottom why you should have certain things in your CV, why they should be on your LinkedIn, why they should be in certain ways. But I'm not just going to tell you what to do. I'm also going to explain why each element is the way it is, so you can make some sort of more practical decisions and decide for yourself, does that sound right or not, rather than just tell you what to do. So first of all, we've got up here the cover photo. Now, when you create a LinkedIn profile, that cover photo is going to be completely blank. And what I will do as we're going through this is I'll explain the benefit of being on LinkedIn. I think there's something like there's hundreds of millions of people on LinkedIn right now. And a lot of the recruiters that I know, and Dan will attest to this, are using the LinkedIn platform to find their next employees, to find future employees for them. So that's why this is so important. If you're not aware of what the LinkedIn platform is, it's a professional networking platform that is widely used by both internal and external recruitment agencies. So up front and top, we have the cover photo. Now, a lot of the time, let's say I'm a recruiter and I'm scrolling through someone's profile, or I'm scrolling through a list, for example, of, let's say I'm looking for junior developers, or I'm looking for junior staff in some sort of fashion. The way that I'm going to go about that is very simple. Now, I'm going to make it a little bit more simple than the complex sort of things that you can type into a LinkedIn profile. But I'm going to go up to here, okay, to the search. Say I'm a recruiter, say I work at Amazon, for example, and I'm looking for a junior developer. Let's make it easy. I'm looking for a Java developer, okay? I'm going to go here and I'm going to type in Java developer, okay? Now, it's going to come up with a list of people, most likely, yeah. So then I'm going to click on people, and what I'm doing here is just showing you the journey of what someone who's going to be looking for yourself in your next position, what they're going to be going through. So I'm going to type in Java developer, and then I'm going to break that down a little bit. So I might go to locations, I might go to United Kingdom, for example. I might break that down a little bit more by industry, current connections, what company they're working at. The reason I'm explaining this part to you is because it really, really affects how we're going to create and what we're going to be doing on our profile. Because what I see a lot of the time with graduates is they make the mistake on their profile of just up at the top here. So let's start with cover photo. So cover photo is important because a lot of the time, if I don't see a cover photo on someone's profile, I'm probably not going to reach out to that individual. The reason for that is they're probably not active on LinkedIn. And as a recruiter, I've only got a certain amount of connections that I'm going to be able to make on a weekly basis. Some would have recruiter accounts, but even that has limits to it as well. So with a cover photo, I'm going to make sure that there's something on there. It doesn't have to have your name, what you do, and your email address. I would suggest you do that. Okay, because like I said, you're going to be limited as a recruiter to the amount of people that you can reach out to and connect with on a weekly basis. I believe that limit is 100 these days. So if I see someone that doesn't look like they're active on LinkedIn, I'm not going to waste my energy, or I'm not going to waste my my connection, my 100 limited connections that week on someone who doesn't look like they're active. And one thing that makes people not look like they're active is by having the standard cover photo. Let's get down to the main profile photo here. This is really, really simple. Don't get fancy with it. All you need to do is make sure that it's clear and visible. Let's say this: if you're at a conference, would you recognize someone? Could you tell who they were based on their LinkedIn profile if they were stood across the room? Equally, could you tell who that person was if they joined a Zoom call or they joined a Teams call? Could they look at your LinkedIn profile and recognize you from that photo? That's all that matters on your LinkedIn profile photo, okay? Nothing more, nothing less. Don't get fancy with it. Don't have a group of people. Don't have a black and white background, all the stuff that I see a lot of the time with people. Just make yourself recognizable. Your name, I'm pretty sure I don't need to explain what your name needs to be. That's pretty self-explanatory. But here is the important part, this section here. Now I'm not going to use my profile because I'm not a grad looking for work. I'm going to use the examples of some other people that I've coached in the past. So we're going to move over to Alex here. So Alex is looking for a senior, which was looking for a senior UX and UI designer, right? So senior UX UI designer. And remember, when we go back to when recruiters are searching for a particular profile, the mistake I see a lot of the time is students will put in master's degree from Leeds University, or they'll put in bachelor's in science or bachelor's in whatever from a university. Recruiters aren't going to be searching by what university you went to. They're going to be searching by the job title. They're going to have a job specification, which is something that you've all probably seen when you've been searching for jobs, and they're going to be trying to match up that job specification with an individual. And one of the ways they're going to do that, not the only way, but one of the ways they're going to do that is by typing in senior UX UI designer. Okay. Now, if Alex doesn't have senior UX UI designer on her profile anywhere, she won't appear in that search. Okay, this is what I mean by it's important to get the words and the phrasing right on your LinkedIn profile. You need to be findable. So you need to be able to be found. And what that means is putting matching the job titles that you want to be found for on your LinkedIn profile. So not bachelor's degree from Leeds University. It's got to be junior analyst. Okay, and let's say you're a developer. You want to put every different version of that job title in this job title section here. So if you're looking for a development role, for example, you might put Java developer / programmer / analyst. Okay, every different version that you think you might be, the search term might be, and you'll know what these search terms are because you've all been applying for jobs, right? Every time you see the job title on top of a job specification, you need to make sure that if that's the job you're looking for, that is what your title says. Okay, so let's say for Alex, for example, senior UX UI designer. And what that means is when someone from these businesses goes onto LinkedIn and they're looking for Java developer, for example, or whatever it may be, if you're going to have that on your profile, and at the very least, you're going to appear on the list of people that comes up in that LinkedIn search afterwards, after we hit enter on Java Developer. Okay, so that's one thing that's really, really important. So just to reiterate that one more time, make sure that this line here, your header, I think it's called, or headline, is every job that you want to be found for, not the degree that you have right now. Okay, that's really, really important so that you start actually coming up in the lists themselves. Next most important thing on LinkedIn is to go to open to work. Okay, so you can click on this open to, you can show recruiters you're open to work. Now, the reason this is useful is not every recruiter has a recruiter license. They're very, very expensive recruiter licenses, a couple of grand a year, I think, or something like that. What that allows them to do is see everyone on the platform. But what this allows them allows recruiters to do, even if they don't have one of those licenses, it allows them to come up in a very specific search of people who are open to work. So all we're trying to do is make you as findable as possible on LinkedIn. So we want to put the job titles that they're going to be searching in the search bar. We want to put us as open to work, so that in a special open to work filter, we're going to be on that search bar, that we're going to be in that search list as well. So that's really important. You can also change your profile from to a creator profile. Now, this is very good, very useful, because it allows you to put hashtags here. So hashtag job search, career coach, career advice. That is going to get you, again, further up that list. The more terms that will be matched by what they're searching on the LinkedIn profile bar, the LinkedIn search bar that are on your profile, the higher up the list you're going to get. We want to get you to the top of that list, or as high as we possibly can, so that when recruiters are searching for you, they can find you. That's the most important thing. And what that allows you to do, like I said, if you turn it on to creator mode, is it changes it so that you can put what you talk about. It also makes this change from connections to the amount of followers that you have on LinkedIn. Not that that's going to be very important at the beginning of the career. Okay, what else do we need to cover from this? So obviously the most important thing after this is the about section. So let's not choose mine, because like I said, I'm not in the same position as you. So we talked previously about your LinkedIn profile being essentially your shop window. Okay, your shop window is you want to be, first of all, that you want people to be able to find you. Okay, so we're going to be putting the right sort of terminology into your profile, so that if someone types in Java developer, you're actually going to come up in the search. But then we need to start talking about who we are, what your goals are, what your approach is, what your career objective is. Because let's say I go onto your CV, I've probably got a relatively good idea of what you're looking to do. You've probably put that in your executive summary, right? So why are we not putting that sort of information in our LinkedIn profiles and our about sections either? So it's really, really important that you get across the idea of that, A, that you're looking for work, B, what sort of work you're looking for, and then C, your career objective. Okay, what is it that I'm trying to achieve? What is it that I'm trying to do? Why do I want to get into this particular role? Why do I want someone to contact me about this particular role? Because like I said before, a lot of the time we're limited as recruiters by the amount of people we can connect with. So the more information you can make as easily available to recruiters when they're looking at your profile, the more likely they are to want to contact you. So let me go through it from my perspective again, or from a recruiter's perspective. I'm going to jump on Alex's profile, and if the about section was blank and all it had was her last role, I might think, well, I know she's a senior UI UX designer, but I don't really know if she's looking for work. I don't know what sort of work she's looking for. I don't know how she works. I don't know what her specialities are. So am I going to contact her? I'll probably try to, but that might go onto the secondary list of people while I look at people who I know are going to A, be looking for work, so they're more likely to respond and they're going to respond quicker, and B, the fact that they're going to be more relevant for that role. So the reason I don't give people exact outlines of what they should put in their about section is because I started doing that, and then we ended up with about 200 people with the exact same about sections, just slightly changed around. So what I'm going to say to you here is the most important things about Alex's about section are the goals. So my goal is to, so for you, that might be, my goal is to secure a role as a junior analyst at a financial institution based in London, right? That might be your goal. Okay, your approach, you can change that up. That's not a necessity to have in there. Your method is important. How do I work? You know, am I a proactive person? Am I the kind of person that's going to, am I a hardworking person? And what I would say every single time you're writing those down is put examples of you being hardworking or you being proactive. There's nothing worse than someone just saying, I'm a proactive, hardworking individual on a CV. I don't know that. Neither does the employer. I could say that I'm the fastest 100-meter sprinter in the world on my CV. It wouldn't make it true, right? I'd have to go and run the 100 meters the fastest. So this is all about showing rather than telling people, showing rather than telling employers what you're good at. So instead of saying proactive, you could say or hardworking. You could say from a standing start, I built out a group of individuals and we started this charity, or we worked on this project project, or we did this thing at university, or I did this at my previous role or in my internship, that allowed the company to have X, Y, and Z, which increased profits or increased revenue, or had this sort of positive outcome. And that was something that I started myself, right? So if you say something that shows you're proactive, it's going to be much more powerful than just saying, I am proactive. So that's what you need to think about when doing sort of my approach or my method. The career objective is very simple. Where are you looking to go? Okay, a really obvious thing that comes up a lot of the time that I see people in interviews with is someone will say, so, why are you here? Why are you interviewing with us today? And a lot of people won't know the answer to that. A lot of people say, well, because I need a job. You need to have a really, really good, this is my career objective. So the reason I'm here today is because I want to start my career as a junior analyst. Firstly, because of my fascination for the markets, but secondly, because I believe, based on the research that I've done about your business, that you're going to be the best place for me to start because we align on these 3 values, for example. Okay, so you need to have a career objective. This is what I'm looking to do, so that when people interview you, when people see your profile, they go, okay, do you know what, that matches up really well with our business, or that matches up really well with our clients if it's an external recruiter. And then the next one down here, my specialities. Again, this is just SEO. This is just search engine optimization. The more times that Alex writes senior UI UX designer on her CV, on her LinkedIn here, so UI UX designer, UI design, UX design, UI design, the higher up the search list that LinkedIn profile is going to be. It's as simple as that. Now, no, I'm not saying just repeat the word junior analyst 100 times in your about section. We need to make it look sensible at the same time, right? But the more times you have a particular phrase, the higher up that list you're going to get. Okay, and again, it's all about being able to be found, then being able to tell your story. I would also add, and this is something that Alex doesn't have here, something about myself. So a little bit about myself. I enjoy, rides in the park or whatever it may be. Do something a little bit personal, right? Something about yourself, something you do in your spare time. You've probably got your interests at the bottom of your CV. Play on that a little bit, put something in. That's always nice to hear. But then one of the most important bits here, if you would like to hear more or work on a project together, here's how you contact me. Now, it's up to you if you put a mobile number on here. Sometimes that can be quite a dangerous thing to do because sometimes people will abuse that. You might find yourself on some sort of call list. It's not always the case, but I would certainly say every single time, please put an email address down here, because again, what we're trying to do, we're trying to be able to be the most findable on LinkedIn as possible. Then we want to be able to explain what we're doing and who we are and what job we want and what specialities we have. And then we want them to be able to contact us as easily as possible. We don't want them to have to connect with us on LinkedIn, then send us a message, then wait for a CV, then do all of that. We want them just to be able to contact us as quickly as possible. And what I also said about before was you've only got that limited amount of connections that you can send out on a weekly basis. If they don't have to send a connection, how good is that going to be for them, right? They've got that extra connection out of those 100 they can send a week that they don't now need to send because they've got an email address or a phone number that you have so kindly provided on your LinkedIn profile. Okay, let's go down now. Experience. I know a lot of people won't have experience because they are coming straight out of university. That's fine. A good thing to put in this area, and I don't have an example because all the people I've worked with have now got jobs, so they've changed it. But a good example to put here is to say something along the lines of interested in or applying for, and have that as your job title. Again, you could put senior UI UX seeking opportunities. And what did we say before? The more times you can have senior UI UX, the more times you have Java developer, the more times you have junior analyst on your profile, the higher up that search list you're going to be, the easier it is for you to be found. Now let's keep going down. Education, I think that's all pretty self-explanatory. One thing that is really, really important to get on here as well is recommendations. Now, I know a lot of people won't have done full-time work yet, but a recommendation from a teacher, a professor, someone that has as much credibility as possible. Now, as you go through your career, the higher up that recommendation is. So, for example, a boss is going to be much more powerful and impactful than a colleague, the better. But for now, any recommendations you can put down there would be fantastic. And one thing I have seen some people that I've coached is in their about section, they've put in here, don't take my word for it. Here is what so-and-so had to say about me, and then copy and paste a little bit of that recommendation in there, and then you can always say, to see the full recommendation, please scroll down to the bottom. Now, there's a couple of other things that you can do that are really, really important. So you'll see here that my LinkedIn profile URL doesn't say my name. Okay, it says career coach job search. Now, again, this is all about being as findable as possible on LinkedIn. So you can change this. So you can go up to the top here. It's on the right-hand side. If you click Edit, Public Profile and URL, okay, you can then change that URL over here. So what I would suggest for people is change that to the job you're looking for. So again, junior analyst Neil Ewington. Okay, so junior analyst Neil Ewington. Now what that's going to allow as well is it's all about that SEO, that search engine optimization, because what a lot of people will do is they will go to Google and they will do something called they'll do essentially a LinkedIn search, but utilizing Google. I'll see if we've got time, I'll show people what that looks like at the end. But ultimately what that means is they'll be using the Google search engine to search for LinkedIn profiles on LinkedIn. It's very effective. It works as well if you've run out of connections to send out. But if you change your URL to Career Coach Job Search, you're going to be much higher again up that list, more findable, and the people are going to be able to see your profile more easily. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the LinkedIn profile. Now, that's sort of the basics of it, right? Now, the most important part is what we're going to be doing next. Now, LinkedIn is a powerful tool for a couple of different reasons. Now, the most important reason is the ability to pretty much reach out to any individual in a work capacity that you could possibly want to. Now, they're not always going to respond, but that's what we're going to talk about now. We're going to talk about LinkedIn jobs. We're going to talk about the type of people to reach out to and how to reach out to those individuals the most effectively. And I'd like to say this also works if you're in a client services partner role like I am here. I'm a client services partner. Most of the outreach I do is on LinkedIn. 80% of the people that have gone through the Early Career Academy have found a role without sending a CV first, but by doing a piece of outreach first to a relevant hiring manager or a relevant colleague on LinkedIn. So that's really, really important. 80% of the people that I've coached haven't sent a CV first or applied for a job. Now, I'm not saying don't apply for jobs. There's still a chance that you could get one through that, but they have either found a role through that or it's accelerated their job search by utilizing LinkedIn and effectively networking with people. And I'll show you how to do that now, because, you know, this is all very, very important so that you're findable, but this outreach piece next is really, really important. So let me just make this slightly bigger. So this is something that I'm going to share afterwards so that we can get round to everyone. So it's the Early Career Goal Planner. Now there's some really useful stuff in here. And this is all things that I use with the people that I'm coaching. One thing that is important to get sort of right before you go to interview stage. I won't spend too long on this because it does take a while. I'm trying to sort of condense 4 hours into 1 hour here for everyone. Is what's my career objective? So my career objective is, my passion for that objective comes from, I stand out because the type of company I'd like to work for is. I'll give you a quick example that I did pull up of someone that I worked with on this, so that you can see what that looks like. So I don't know if you can see that. I will try and just read it out for you if you can't. So this is an example of a mission statement I did with an individual recently. The role will be working with an organization that is a medium to large size consultancy, and with a leadership team that is supportive and approachable, but allows autonomy. I'll be working on human capital, business strategy, and digital transformation projects, utilizing innovative techniques, theories, and methodologies to assist and produce a better, more engaged, and higher performing workforce. The value and experience I will bring will be an understanding and passion for solving the current gaps and shortfalls in methodology and application of current workforce strategies, with the knowledge that there are huge gains to be made in both mental health and performance related processes across the board. I'm looking for a role based in London, paying 30K. The type of role I want is as an entry level consultant. Before you do anything, you really have to write this down for yourself. You've really got this mission statement. You've got to get this mission statement written down. What is it that I am looking to do? So that, like I said before, when you go into an interview and someone says, what are you looking to do? Why are you here in front of me? You can say, well, I'm looking to work in this. The reason I want to do it is this. The experience or the passion I'm going to bring to the project is this, and I want this sort of role. It's so much more powerful than going into an interview or going into any sort of application process, not really having a full understanding of why you're there in the first place. And that will come across in an interview. So you can work on that by going through this mission statement section here. There's a few other things in here that are relevant for another time, but this is where it starts to get interesting in terms of an outreach perspective. Now, of course, still keep on applying for roles on LinkedIn, jobs on LinkedIn. We'll talk about that a little bit in a second, and also things like Indeed. I'm not saying don't do those applications, but in my experience, this is the most powerful way for you to go and get yourself a job on LinkedIn. First of all, start off with a list of 20 companies that you want to work for. 5 dream companies. I want to work for Google, Tesla, Microsoft, whoever it is, right? That's the company I want to work for. Get your 5 dream companies written down. Then 10 that are relevant. Okay, so yeah, okay, they'd be a good company to start for. It's not my dream company, but they'd be a good company to start for. They're in the right area, they're in the right industry, they've got the right job, they're paying around the right sort of money. Perfect, right? Get 10 relevant companies down. And if you're struggling to find these companies, go onto LinkedIn, right? Go onto LinkedIn and start searching them by company, by industry. Go onto Google. There's tons and tons of information and lists on there where you can get good information about what businesses. Speak to friends and family. Referrals are always going to be the most powerful ones. Speak to people who are working in businesses. We'll get to that in a bit. So 10 that are relevant, and then chuck in 5 wildcards. 5 that you think, I would never apply to a hedge fund. You know, it's not, I don't really like finance, for example. Let's say you're a creative person that wants to work for a creative agency. Chuck something in that's just not relevant at all, but you know would hire for your job. So you could have, a lawyer working for a creative agency instead of their top 5 being, some of the Magic Circle firms, for example. Chuck in 5 wildcards. Now, what you're going to do after you've got this list written down is, let me go to the next slide, is now we're going to talk about the type of people that you want to be connecting with. I'm sorry if this is a little bit small for people on the page, but what you want to be doing is there's 3 types of people to connect with when you've got your list of 20 companies. So let's take, I don't know, let's take Apple, for example, just for the sake of argument. You want to find 3 hiring managers, 3 peers, and then an agency recruiter that are relevant to that, either that company or that role. So what I mean by a hiring manager is, let's say I want to be a developer, that would be the head of development. Let's say I wanted to be, I don't know, a motion graphics designer, that would be the head of creative, right? It would be whoever is typically the person that runs that department or is going to be the manager of that role. So then what you would do is you would go to LinkedIn and you want to find 3 hiring managers from any of these businesses. Let's pick a company that's based in London. Let's not pick Apple. Who should we pick? Let's pick, I don't know, JP Morgan for the sake of it, right? So let's say I wanted to go and work at JP Morgan and I wanted to find 5 hiring managers. I'm going to type in JP Morgan. Okay, really simply, I'm going to go to JP Morgan. Then I'm going to go to companies over here. Just click on companies. And then I'm going to find JP Morgan here. Okay, then I'm just going to click on JP Morgan. And then if you see here, it's got employees. I can click on employees and it's going to give me a list of every employee who's on LinkedIn who works at JP Morgan. So we're off to a good start, right? Then I'm going to break that down by location. So I might do JP Morgan London. Let's say I'm looking for a role in London. Fantastic. I'm going to type in JP Morgan London. Okay, so then it's got, I've got 6,300 results here of people that work in JP Morgan that are based in London. Now, let's say I want to look for a head of development. Okay, I'm going to type in heads of development. Okay, and that might be program manager. Sometimes it's going to change. So international brand experience, MD, head of program delivery, for example, that could be someone that's relevant. Head of international technical coverage, managing director again, head of Europe, FIG sales. So let's say I wanted to find a head of sales, for example, so head of sales. There's going to be lots of senior people within sales. So managing director and co-head of EMEA sales. So I'm looking for a sales role. I want to go into the business. I'm looking for a programmer role. I'm looking for a head of programming or a head of tech. It's not always going to be the same for each company, and that's important to remember. So a head of sales somewhere else might be called a sales director. It could be called various different things. It could be a commercial director. You've just got to play around with these different words. And the best way of doing that again is to go back to Indeed, go to the job section on LinkedIn, and start typing in heads of department or senior roles within X. And if you'll see within that advert itself, it will say reports into, or reports into the head of, or reports into the creative director, reports into. That's how you're going to find out what these job titles are like. So let's say I want to, I've got the head of sales. So I've got Michelle Butler here. I'm very simply, I'm just going to connect with Michelle. I'm going to send that connection message. Then I'm going to come back to my sheet here. And then I'm going to go to this next section, my connection list. I'm going to see if I can zoom in on this one as well. And then I'm going to put the name Michelle here, then the company, JP Morgan, the position, manager, or whatever the position is, so head of sales, and then connection, hiring manager, and then the outcome one, connected on LinkedIn, okay? And then I'm going to go through, I'm going to find 3 people from as hiring managers. I'm going to find 3 people as graduates, and I'll talk about the graduates in a second. Where did we have that search? Okay, head of EMEA, head of asset management sales. So here we go. Here's another head of sales, head of asset management sales, Nikolay Nestov. So sometimes it's going to say follow on people. That doesn't mean you can't connect with them. You just got to click into their profile here. You got to click on more, just here, and then should be a connect button down here. That also happens when you change your profile to creator mode, like I showed you previously when we're going through the LinkedIn profile. So we're just going to connect with Nikolai. You get the idea. We're going to find 3 of those people. There's 155 to go through. I won't do that right now, but find the hiring managers for what you want to do in your top 20 businesses. So that's 3 people from each of those businesses that are head of sales if you're looking for a sales role, head of creative if you're looking for a creative role. You get the idea. Okay, and I'll talk about what we're doing afterwards after I've gone through your peers as well. So the other important thing, the other important group of people to connect with are other graduates. I don't know why people don't do this more. It never made sense to me. But if you want to go and find out the best way of getting a job at JP Morgan as a graduate, there is no better person in the world that knows how to do that than someone who's currently a graduate at JP Morgan. So you go and ask them, go and reach out to them, connect with them on LinkedIn, and we'll talk about what you say after you connect with them. But there's no better person in the world to tell you how to get a job on LinkedIn, a job at JP Morgan, than someone who's currently working as a graduate at JP Morgan. So that's very simple. We're just going to type in graduate. Now you can, again, we can make this, we could go into more of a, we could go as sort of more minuscule is not the word, is it? But we could go and find people that are more relevant than graduate on here. So we could go specifically for analyst, for example, because I believe analyst, again, you're going to have to look up which term it is, which I believe analyst is the sort of the entry level. Here we go. So analyst. If you're looking for analyst roles, I think that's the entry level one at JP Morgan. Obviously, do your research when you're looking at these companies for that. So I would connect with Lorenzo. I connect with Amara. Again, that's just connect. Okay, we're not going to send any. We're not going to add anything into there. Analyst, and you can have a quick. If you're worried, if you don't know if they're a graduate or not, sometimes you can tell because they're still wearing their gowns from graduation, right? That does also help. That was quite convenient. Thanks, LinkedIn. But click on their profile and see how long they've been there. Okay, if you don't think that they are a graduate, for example, so 1.5 years, some are intern, so yeah, graduate. So now we've got a graduate here. Again, look up the different terminology. I typed in graduate, nothing came up. I typed in analyst, we found all the graduates. Just look up terminology depending on each one. And they're the 2 types of people that we want to be looking at. And the third type of people we want to be looking for are recruiters, both in companies and also at agencies. Now, this one's the simplest one. And again, I will get back onto what we're going to do after those people have connected. But this is the simplest one. We're just going to go to jobs on LinkedIn. This is if we're looking for recruiters, and we're going to type in, I don't know, let's go for Java developer. Let's go for, I don't know, graduate developer, shall we, or something like that. Let's see what happens. So workplace experience leads, cost intelligence, developer. This is looking like it is sort of entry level type things. Developer again. Now, what you want to do is go down this list. And a lot of the time, you're going to have people that are working for the companies directly. And then sometimes you're also going to have people that are recruiters, and you're going to be able to tell that. And hopefully LinkedIn is going to be kind to me here by actually having an example of what a recruitment one will say. If it doesn't, then I will just have to explain it. Oh, City Grad, there we go. That's a good example. So staffing and recruiting. So you'll know it's a recruitment business if it says staffing and recruiting there. Sometimes it's going to have an individual on this list, and it's just going to have their name. It's going to tell you exactly who it is on this list that's posted it. Not all the time, but sometimes. And if it has the person, oh, here we go. So talent coordinator Harrods, for example, that's the person who posted that job. So now you know who's posted the job. What we're going to do, we're going to go to Robin's profile, and we're going to connect with Robin. Okay, so now we've got, and we're all the time we're going through this, by the way, it's important to remember we're going to go back to this connection list, and we're going to be writing down who do I connect with, their company, their position. Are they a hiring manager? Are they a graduate? Are they a peer, essentially? Or are they a recruiter? You might also want to differentiate that with internal recruiter and agency recruiter. And then the outcome, and the outcome should be connected on LinkedIn or sent connection message on LinkedIn. It should be more accurately be. So what we're then going to do is once these people, sorry if my phone keep ringing, once these people start to, and I'd also actually, I don't have this on here, I should add this, I would also actually then save their LinkedIn profile URL so that you can easily go back through the list. Then on a daily basis, I would go through and I go to the home place here, and I go to my network. And then I would go to connections, and on your connections, you can see who has accepted. So Nikolai has already accepted my connection request on LinkedIn. Okay, and we just sent that a few minutes ago, right? So this is a great example. I've just managed to connect directly with the head, the executive director, no less, head of EMEA Asset Management Sales at JP Morgan Payments. That's going to allow me to directly now message someone who's going to be one of the most influential people in JP Morgan sales. And I've only sent that a couple of minutes ago. Now, don't be worried or concerned if you're only getting about 10 to 20% of people at the beginning accept your connection messages. I would also say, don't go too crazy at the beginning either. What you don't want to do is start sending out loads and loads of connections if you don't have any at all, because LinkedIn will go, oh, is this a bot? Is this a fake account? And it will start blocking and banning you. So be careful at first. Maybe send out 10 a week, 20 a week. Build yourself up. And I think my limit is 100, but I think that's the LinkedIn limit now. But don't go too crazy at first, just to make sure that LinkedIn don't get angry with you. They get angry with me all the time. They've banned me a couple of times now. But yeah, just be careful with it at the beginning. Executive Director, Asset Management Sales, JP Morgan. Right, so what we're going to do with this, right, really, really simply, we're not going to write a text-based message. Nobody reads text-based messages. I could get a WhatsApp message right now here, but I'm not going to read it because obviously that's going to be something that's easy to ignore and rude to do on here. But if I got a voice message right now on my phone, I have to listen to that voice message to know what the content of that voice message is. So every person that I coach on when we're doing our outreach, doing one of two things: a voice note or a video. Okay, a voice note or a video, depending on how confident you are. Right now, voice notes are absolutely killing it on LinkedIn. And the way to do a voice note, really simple. You can't do it through here, but you can do it through your phone. Download the LinkedIn app, go on there, same as WhatsApp, same as everything else. I'm sure you all know how to do that. And you can just record a voice note. You're limited to 60 seconds. What you're going to say in that voice note is really, really important though. The biggest mistake that everybody makes doing this next bit, reaching out to the head of EMEA Asset Management at JP Morgan, is they ask for a job. Don't ask for a job. Everyone's asking him for a job. He probably thinks I'm asking for him for a job. Don't ask for a job, ask for advice. Everyone loves giving out advice and everyone loves talking to themselves. So you record a voice note. Hi, Nicolay. Thank you so much for accepting my connection request. The reason I'm reaching out is because I've just graduated from so-and-so and I'm thinking about starting a career in sales within finance. So I wanted to reach out and get some advice from someone who has gone down the same route and achieve the goals that I want to achieve, and see if you could support me and give me some advice on where you think I should go next. So the important bits there are give me some advice and also bigging them up a little bit. So I was hoping if I could get 15 minutes of your time or advice so you could teach me about how you've been so successful at achieving what I want to achieve. And they'll go, you're right, I am successful. I have achieved a lot. I'd love to speak to you about achieving stuff. I'd love to spend half an hour talking to you about how successful and how much I've achieved. However, if you send a CV through and you just send a text-based message to this individual, they probably get 100 a day, right? They probably get 100 of those a day. You need to be a peacock amongst chickens. Now, that's not my phrase. There's a really good guy called Dominic Joyce, who's on LinkedIn. I suggest when you get your profile set up, you connect with Dominic Joyce. That's his phrase. He is the head of talent for Travelex, good friend of mine, who says you need to be a peacock amongst chickens. You need to do something that's going to differentiate yourself from the rest of the market. Only by a little bit. You only need to be 1% better than the rest of the market. And that's all about the reciprocation of effort. So let's say I get I won't go through my messages. I don't think I can do that. But I get messages about 10 a day from people saying they've just connected with me and they say, hey, Neil, I'm trying to sell you this thing. I want to sell you this thing on LinkedIn. If they called me, it's not hard to find my mobile number. It's plastered all over the internet. It's not hard to find my mobile number or call me. I mean, that's how, Dan's colleague found me, gave me a call. They could call me. And it's about that reciprocation of effort. If they're just going to send a text-based message on LinkedIn, why would I put effort into responding to someone if they're not going to put effort into reaching out to me? And everyone feels that way, whether they know that they're doing it or not. Everyone feels that way. So let's say Nicolay gets a voice-based message, a voice-based message on LinkedIn. That's going to be something that differentiates you from almost everybody else in the market. If you create a personalized video, only 60 seconds, just on your phone, and say, hey, Nicolay, the reason I'm reaching out to you is because thank you for accepting my connection request. The reason I'm reaching out is I'm about to start my career. I'm about to start my journey into sales in finance. And I wanted to reach out and get some advice from someone who's an expert at what I want to do and has achieved what I'm looking to achieve. Could you spare 15 minutes to tell me how you've been so successful at it? You record that 60-second video to one of these hiring managers, they're going to absolutely respond. Okay. Not everyone is going to respond, of course. There's always going to be people who don't, but that is something that is going to be completely different to almost anyone else is doing or anyone else is sending. Everyone else is just asking for a job. Hey, is there any jobs going? Here's my CV. You're taking your time to be personal and not just control C and control V a message, because you're putting the effort in. They're much more likely to put the effort back into responding to you. That's what we're going to say to the hiring managers. To the graduates, it's much more simple. To your peers, hi there. I see that we were really successful. Big them up as well. Everyone likes a little bit of an ego kick, right? I saw you were really, really successful at getting through the JP Morgan interview process. Could you spare 10 minutes to tell me about how you were so good at it? You know, could you spare 10 minutes to tell me what you did differently? Because one thing they will know is what got them the job or what got them through the process. And even if they won't tell you what got them through the process, they'll tell you what the process is better than anybody else in the world, certainly better than JP Morgan's going to. So what tripped you up? What things didn't you expect? Could you spend 10 minutes just to tell me about how you beat out all your competitors? So same thing, voice note, hey, whatever the person's name is. Hey, Dave, thanks for accepting my connection request. Look, the reason I'm reaching out is congratulations, first of all, on getting your job at JP's. I hope it's been going well for the last year. I was hoping to get 10 minutes of your time as someone who's been really successful about getting through the process to, basically give me a little bit of help on how you were so good at beating out the rest of the competition. Like, what did you do differently? And they'll have an answer for you because they did it, right? They do know that answer. Again, you're not going to get everyone respond to these, but all you need is one head of sales from a finance company, one. This is why I say get three from each. One from one graduate, and a few other people in the business or across your businesses before you really start getting traction with this. Another good thing about doing these outreaches is let's say you're going into an interview and you got an interview with JP Morgan. Excuse me, you got an interview with JP Morgan coming up next week. Reach out to the people in that team. It won't be hard to find them on LinkedIn. And when they ask the question, so what research have you done about our company? You can say, well, actually, I spoke to Dave, who works in accounting. I spoke to Sarah, who works over here. I spoke to 2 of your team members, and they said this about your business and where this about your team and where it's looking to go. And that really aligns with my values for these reasons. Again, we're talking about that showing rather than telling. You could sit down there and say, well, I'm really proactive, or you could say, I've reached out to 4 of your team members, even if they don't respond. That's going to show you're proactive rather than telling people you're proactive. But that's another hour for interviews. Now, with the recruiters, it's really, really simple. Recruiters want you to reach out to them. They really do. They want you to reach out to them. The recruiters are going to want you to reach out, especially if it's for a relevant role. I don't know where I had that job section up before. Anyway, I don't know where that is, but they're going to want you to reach out to them. Okay, so simply just send them a voice note, send them a CV. Hey, look, I saw this job I saw that you posted this job. This is the kind of role I'm looking for. Here's a copy of my CV. Do you have time for a 15-minute chat, 20-minute chat over the next couple of weeks? So they're the 3 things. And once you get those calls booked in, this whole thing is about getting them from LinkedIn onto a 15-20-minute Zoom call. Once you're on that call, it's really simple. Instead of you saying, hey, I'm looking for a job, you're suddenly on the call with the head of asset management sales for JP Morgan, and they're going to go, so, what advice can I give you? You're going to ask for the advice. You're going to say, well, look, I'm trying to get into this career. I'm thinking about applying to JP Morgan. Is there anything you can tell me? Anything you can teach me? They're going to say, so what is your situation? And then you're going to say, well, I'm looking for a job. Right. So instead of you reaching out saying, hey, do you have a job? Here's my CV. You've got yourself in a situation where they're asking you. And that's why this is so, so powerful. Now, again, not everyone's going to respond, but you can see within the space of 5 minutes, one of the most senior people in one of the biggest investment banks in the world accepted, and we've never spoken before in our lives, right? That's how powerful this platform can be. So I think that's pretty much it. There's a few other things I won't go through now because there's not much time. There's some other things in here like a planner, like some content that you could start putting out on LinkedIn, different types of posts, and I've put some examples in here for people as well. But that's pretty much everything that I wanted to discuss today. So just to really, really briefly recap, on your LinkedIn, make sure that you have make sure that you got a header up there, a picture that people can recognize you for, a senior UI, your job titles you want to be found for, an about section that tells you who you are, recommendations on there, and then make sure you start getting that top 20 list of people that you want to go and reach out to. 3 hiring managers, and if 3 hiring managers don't respond, find 2 more. 3 people who are graduates and people that are your level, and then go and find some of the recruiters. And if you do that on here, you're really, really quickly going to start getting interviews outside of the normal application processes. I'm done.
You can come up for air now, Neil. Wow. Blimey, that was absolutely brilliant. If no one gets an interview, at least by following your process, I'll be amazed. So good that connection happened with the chap there.
Yeah.
And that says it all. How powerful this platform is. So many recruiters are on it, and if you time it right, you get responses and things move forward. And I know it's very scary, very overwhelming. Students and graduates aren't quite sure how to play it, but I think you've explained it very, very clearly. And be amazed if there are many questions, but there's a couple here that if you're happy to answer. Neil.
Yeah, sure. I think your microphone's up as well. I can't really hear you very well.
Yeah, there we are. Sorry.
There we go. That's all right.
Yeah, probably very quiet now. So we've got a couple of questions. I think you covered it because someone's mentioned, if you don't have lots of experience, what can you put on your profile? But you said at the start, what you're looking for as your job title. I thought that was a clever.
What you're looking for, and then put seeking opportunities so it doesn't look false, right? So you're not trying, what we don't want to do is mislead people here. And that's something that I have seen people do is sort of, put on job titles they don't have, but put something that you're looking for, then put seeking opportunities next to it. And then there's also a network on LinkedIn, and I always get the name wrong on this. It's something like open to opportunities. You can put that as the company. So if you put data analyst seeking opportunities, then open to opportunities as the company, then you've made it very clear, not only have you helped with your SEO, but you've made it very, very clear to people that that's what you're looking for, not what you currently have. But that also gives you the opportunity in that little section to talk about why. So seeking opportunities, data analyst, and then maybe data analytics. I think I would excel at this role because I have a degree in data analytics or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah, brilliant. And it all helps with optimization, like you said at the top. Even changing your URL. I didn't know about that. That's clever.
That's super cool. I love that
one. But also to mention, if you don't have work experience, you can still put voluntary experience, can't you? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. What you're trying to get across is just that you're trying to get, it's all that show don't tell, right? You want to get across to people that maybe I don't have work experience, but I've got this voluntary experience, and then talk a little bit about why you were doing it. Be a little bit human on your LinkedIn. Open up a little bit, because there's so many people that are so sort of rigid, and everyone gets the same CV templates when they use university. Like that guy Dominic Joyce, a friend of mine, said, "Be a peacock amongst chickens. Do something a little bit different."
Yeah, that's really good. And standing out is so important. I mean, it's drilled into students and graduates about their CV, but everyone's looking at the same advice, the same templates. It's really hard. And especially now on LinkedIn, there are clever little ways you can make yourself stand out. And you've shared some brilliant tips there. Oops, someone's sharing. Right. Hopefully that's answered your question, Aos. And there's another question here from Eman. Is the search case sensitive?
No. It's not case sensitive. However, the search functionality is based on Boolean searches. So I don't really have time to explain that at the moment. But what I will do, I will explain that's important is if you put something in speech marks in the search, it will treat it like one phrase. If you put something without speech marks, it will treat it like two separate words. That's as much as I can really explain in a short space of time. Look up Boolean searches, and that'll give you a better idea of putting things with the word. You can use words like and or not to say I would like to look for the word Java and developer. That is then case sensitive. That needs to be a capitals. But look up Boolean searches, and that'll give you a good idea of how that works.
Nice answer. A few people have said they haven't been able to see the slides or the presentation, that maybe they haven't got the desktop app. Are we sharing this? Yes, we've recorded it. It'll go on the platform. I'm sure we're going to get loads of views from people who want to see this presentation again. Right, this is an interesting question from Martin. On the point of finding the right people, how do I refrain from scammers who tend to use fake accounts?
It's unlikely. I mean, do you see that a lot, Dan?
No, I've never seen this question.
I've never seen a fake. I've never seen a fake account. It's what do they have to gain really of someone pretending to be the head of asset management sales at JP's?
It's a slow way to get data if you're going to do it on LinkedIn.
I would look. I'm sure there are some scammers out there, but I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, cool. What else have we got? Oh yeah, one other question we'll just answer here from Shahrazad. Thank you for this. Would you advise someone to take up a role temporarily, which may not be part of one's mission statement?
Yes. Now, it's difficult to say. One thing I advise people who are slightly further on in their career is looking for a job can be a full-time job.
Yeah.
Which is very true. It can be very, very difficult to look for a job while you're in a full-time job. But I'd always say, if you're trying to build up that level of credibility and experience, then the more that you have to reference to in an interview, the more you can put on your about section, the more that you can talk about to a potential employer, the better. And all that's going to show is, rather than telling them I'm hardworking, well, even though I'm full-time searching for this role at the moment, I also took up another role. That's going to show you that you're hardworking rather than telling them. So yes, I would say do that.
Yeah. Someone said, "Oh, in Africa, the case of scammers is huge. It you may need to tell graduates about it."
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
I didn't know that.
How could you double check someone is who they say they are on LinkedIn? Don't know. That's maybe another workshop right there.
Well, you just call up the switchboard and ask for their name.
Good one. Yeah.
So just Google JP Morgan switchboard, say, can I speak to that person's name? And if they say they don't work here, then you know they don't work there.
Yeah. But I don't know what it is like in Africa or if they are using LinkedIn, but yes, scammers are online in all walks of life. Right, time for one more quick question. Maybe we're almost out of time. Salman has said, "How do you search for part-time roles when you are working 20 hours a week or less? What advice could you give? I'm an engineering grad student, and I'd certainly like to work part-time in engineering roles."
So part-time work, when it's difficult to search specifically for part-time work, but what I would say is, if you're the person that's having a conversation directly with a hiring manager of an engineering team, that's a conversation that you can have before that gets to HR or before that gets to the recruitment teams. And what I mean by that is, if you're having conversation directly with the head of engineering and you're saying in your voice note, look, in your first conversation on Zoom or Teams, this is my situation, I'm looking for an engineering role but part-time, you're much more likely to get some sort of level of flexibility there than you would if you applied for a full-time role or another role. You can also try searching in part-time engineering roles, but again, that can be a little bit difficult to decipher. But yeah, it's a tough one. It's tough.
Yeah, I think that always also answers the next question from Zainab about reaching to recruiters for industrial placements. Similar thing, it's not a full-time graduate job. It's not a training program, but it's slightly outside of that. And you just search for placement, sandwich placement, maybe, or
yeah. I think that there's one area of people that I left out of that outreach strategy, and that's the recruiters themselves. And there's nothing wrong with reaching out to the recruiters themselves, the heads of talent themselves. The reason that I often say don't do that is because of how many people do it. They're going to be inundated. If you're called the head of recruitment for Apple, I mean, I imagine you're getting a lot of emails on a daily basis, right? So you can also reach out directly to the talent teams, and any sort of proactivity that you can do, any sort of outreach that you can do, any sort of anything that you can show, start doing a bit of content on LinkedIn is going to differentiate yourself from these people. And if they can find you on LinkedIn, it's going to be even better. But doing that outreach and just being very open and honest of what you're looking for is always going to help.
Yeah. Neil, we're going to have to bring this to a close. We're getting lots of feedback saying how brilliant this has been, lots of action points to move forward with. Do appreciate you volunteering your time today.
My pleasure.
And supporting the program. Neil, that's been absolutely wonderful. And thank you everyone for coming along. We will be uploading this to the platform so you can watch back. Some people have asked for the slides. I know you only had 2 slides.
I've only got 2 slides, but I'm going to send around the sort of worksheet that I have. So I'll send around the worksheet, and then people can fill that in themselves. I'd also say, if anyone else wants any other advice from me, I do offer free 15-minute pieces of advice for anyone who wants a one-to-one session from this. I'll send all the details to Dan with that. So you'll get a link in an email, presumably, Dan, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, a link in an email. And if you want to book in 15 minutes, I won't charge for that. I'll just talk you through how we could work together, give you some free advice. And then if you did want to, then we could.
Brilliant. Wow, everyone, that's a fantastic offer from Neil. Honestly, you should really take that up with him. He's been brilliant for this last hour. He's got way more expertise in lots of other areas applying for jobs. So do check out the Early Career Academy as well. Maybe we can have you back again and share some more insights on another topic.
Yeah, I'd love to do some interview training. That's a really good one for me.
Awesome, Neil. Thank you once again, and thank you everyone for joining us. See you next time.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.